This is the Mission. It's a Kansas State historical site. Got a nice lawn here. Look at these limestone buildings from stone quarried right here in town. In 1846, the federal government forced the Kaw people to a 20-mile square reservation surrounding Council Grove. They finally, the remainder of the 600 that were left alive finally had to move to Oklahoma. So this mission here had about 30 pupils. Methodist Mission. Kanza Indians. They lived along the Neosho River. Here we are at Council Grove, and here's the Neosho River. Within 100 years after they moved here, they built 2 large villages on the Missouri River. The waterway provided sustenance for their people and their parts of the tribe's culture. By treaty, more than 1,600 Kanza were relocated to a reservation near Council Grove, and eventually to Oklahoma. Called Government House. Look at that plow. The side or moldboard plow was guided by a farmer on foot and pulled by a team of horses or oxen to turn prairie grass and prepare the soil for planting. I think the Delawares were from Delaware. Seneca's New York. Ottawa from New York. Sac and Fox, I don't remember where they're from. New York tribes. So I guess all of these were New York tribes. This is a big house. Look at the fire chimneys. Let's go in and check it out. It's pretty nice from the outside. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Just fine.
Are you Gary?
Why, I sure am.
I just guessed. That was a wild guess.
Oh, come on. How to farm.
Mm-hmm.
And they said farming is ladies' work. Well, you know, back then, the men got everything, and then the ladies had to take care of it after they got it, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's...
Now, these were orphans?
They were some of the Native American boys that they got to come to school here.
Uh-huh.
And you know, and the ones that they couldn't control or stuff, they sent them off here. They kept running away and
Yes.
everything like that.
And what year was this?
The school was in 1850, I think.
1850, okay.
They opened this building in 1851.
And this was part of the Methodist Church?
Correct.
It was the Methodist Mission.
Mission.
Okay.
It was modeled after the one at Shawnee Mission in Kansas City.
Uh-huh.
This monitor over there, when you push the button, will tell you that. All right, and there's Charles Curtis. He lived here. He was an orphan.
Uh-huh.
And his grandma took him to Topeka when he graduated from high school here. And he got him a job as a cab driver or a chauffeur's driver around the Capitol in Topeka.
Uh-huh.
And he learned politics and everything, and then he became a representative, a senator.
Yes.
Wrote a couple bills, and even run for the President of the United States.
Wow.
But he got defeated, so Truman, I keep saying I might be wrong on that. Hoover, Herbert Hoover, nominated him as vice president.
Oh, he ran as vice president with...
Under Hoover.
And what's his first name? Charles.
Charles Curtis.
Charles Curtis. Oh, 1929.
Okay.
Okay. Charles Curtis, here he is right here, was a native Kansas speaker before learning English. His father became a Union soldier during the Civil War. Eventually, his maternal grandmother took Charles to live on the Kansas reservation in Council Grove. Charles was 14 when his grandmother Papa talked him out of going to Indian Territory, Oklahoma, with Kansas. He had opportunities for education in Topeka, and she wanted him to take them. He became a politician after moving to Topeka. Constructed in 1850. Look at this bow and arrows here. This is a beautiful house. Westward expansion. Here they are. Let's go to the Santa Fe Trail.
throve and was driven by commerce. It was William Becknell, a trader from Missouri, who hatched a plan to haul trade goods from Kansas City to Santa Fe, which was at the time part of Spain and later Mexico. The American trade goods carried by Becknell sold at high prices. 2 other expeditions soon arrived, and a profitable enterprise was born. The Santa Fe Trail covered approximately 750 miles and took 48 days to travel one way. 2/3 of the trail ran through present-day Kansas. Trade caravans varied in size, with about 35 men supervising 26 freight wagons. The dust, mud, gnats, mosquitoes, and glaring heat made the trip dangerous and difficult. Goods traveled both directions on the trail. American traders trekked west to sell cloth, buttons, needles, thread, knives, axes, and other tools that were desired in Mexico. An increasing number of Mexican traders came east with silver coins, gold, furs, and mules to trade with the Americans. For the thousands of American Indians whose lands and hunting grounds the trails passed over, the story was quite different. At first, traffic consisted of small parties of traders, but as numbers increased, so did the conflicts. And when Mexican and American military troops began to accompany the wagons, tensions on the plains increased even more.
Everybody walked. Look at this building, it is beautiful. Here's the front door. Leggings. The tribe now has 3,600 people. John Ross. They came from Mississippi River. People of the South Wind. Chief Lucy Taia Eads, Little Deer.
There's a picture of when Carl bought it and remodeled it. He gave $37,000 for it. And today, if you remodeled it the way he did, it would be $650,000 or more.
Wow. Yeah, this is the man that bought it did he buy it in 1951?
Yes.
And he's the one that remodeled it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is beautiful.
Yes. That staircase that you just come down, if you was upstairs.
How long was it a mission?
I'm going to say it was about 3-4 years.
And then after that, it was different.
Different things. It was a hotel for a while, and then it was a family residence for a few years, and on stuff like that.
Yes. And then Mr. Huffaker, he donated, or his wife donated to the
state bought it.
Oh, the state bought it.
State bought it.
Okay.
In 51, just before the flood hit in 51.
Oh yeah, Mark was telling me about you had a big flood.
Mm-hmm. The water was waist deep in in these buildings.
This building?
Or I know in the garage, so I'm sure that this building was too.
Wow.
Water was clear back at the base of the hill.
My goodness.
And
that was before the flood control dam, right?
That's the reason the flood control dam got built up here, was because of that flood.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
The driver and some of her friends went to a party downtown, and it rained all day. The buggy driver said, "It hasn't rained that much. We can get across the river." Got halfway across, and the water upset them, and all 4 of them drowned.
My goodness.
Mm-hmm.
They must have been heartbroken.
Yes. The Boy Scouts was down on the Indian reservation 3 miles south of town on a weekend on their hike. And they crossed a stream down there, and they looked down and found a skeleton laying in the water. Since it was on the reservation, they figured it was of Native Americans. So they brought it to the funeral home here, and then they built this monument and buried him inside of it.
Wow, that was really nice.
And the red rock that was at Lawrence is down there.
This is a timeline of what happened in Council Grove. And here we go, 1929, Charles Curtis becomes the first American Indian U.S. Vice President. So he did run in 1929 when Hoover won. Okay, this is about the Santa Fe Trail. Seth Millington Hayes was a relative of Daniel Boone, and I guess he had that store. Yeah, this is it right here. Look at this trunk and shotgun. And this is where it just came from, the Last Chance store. And these are the artifacts that they found there. Remains of the trail. And what is this right here? Early trade. American Indians had trade routes to Mexico. William Becknell and the Santa Fe Trail. He was the pioneer. He blazed the trail. I wonder how many did this pledge and stuck to it. The yokes. They had the loop in the bottom with a chain hooked to it. And these are bushwhackers. Here we are, Council Grove. The last stop for supplies. This is where I'm going right here. Vince Ford. $865 to 950 miles. 2/3 of the Santa Fe Trail lay in Kansas. And here's the road from Santa Fe down to Mexico City. alcohol. There was a demand for empty bottles in Santa Fe. So you would bring a bottle with you, fill it up, buy liquor, fill it up, and drink your way down south. And then when you got there, you could sell the bottle for more than it cost you to spend to buy the liquor. Manufactured cloth was in heavy demand. They had wool, woven wool, but they didn't have cloth. Calico was a favorite. International trade, gold and silver bullion, beaver pelts, socks, wool fleece, cutlery, woven goods. Cooperation and conflicts. Surveying the trail. (1825). They had to have treaties with the Indians to pass through their lands. This is how they signed it, with thumbprints, fingerprints. And there it is, there's the cannon. War with Mexico, 1846 through 1848. The dispute rose over the U.S. annexation of Texas. Mexico before the Mexican War. Mexico after the Mexican War. This is during the Mexican War. The U.S. troops came down this way, and then here. And then also came in from Texas and New Orleans. historic military forts along the Santa Fe Trail. Number 1.
The U.S. Army established Fort Leavenworth in 1827 to protect traders traveling westward on the Santa Fe Trail and to maintain peace with American Indians. Despite a brief evacuation in 1829, Fort Leavenworth remains the oldest active military base west of the Mississippi River. When the United States and Mexico went to war in 1846, traffic on the Santa Fe Trail increased rapidly as U.S. troops and hundreds of wagons traveled the trail from Fort Leavenworth to Mexico. After the war, Fort Leavenworth provided a stream of supplies to additional Army positions along the trail. No small task. Rations, uniforms, shoes, boots, arms, and ammunition arrived at the fort by steamboat. Then freighting wagons carried them in regular shipments to Army posts in the West. The Civil War brought volunteer recruits to Fort Leavenworth from the new state of Kansas, including African Americans eager to serve their country. The U.S. government later formed specialized black regiments. Fort Leavenworth's 10th Cavalry was among the black units called Buffalo Soldiers. Serving on the Western Plains, they were charged with protecting travelers, railroads, and settlers moving west. These African American troops contributed to westward expansion by building forts, protecting stagecoaches, escorting wagon caravans, and guarding railroad construction crews crossing into American Indian lands.
2.
The Santa Fe Trail lacked any military protection along most of its length. Traders felt particularly vulnerable on the western plains of present-day Kansas, where American Indian tribes were feeling and responding to the effects of increased trail traffic. Adjutant General Roger Jones argued in correspondence to the Secretary of War in 1850, "These Indians can only be restrained by having among them, or in striking distance of their hunting grounds, a military force able to pursue and punish them whenever they commit aggressions upon travelers. On so long a route through an uninhabited region, it would be well to have one or more intermediate posts." Of course, Jones' reference to uninhabited land denied the presence and the rights of American Indians. Soon thereafter, the Army established Fort Atkinson as a post on the Santa Fe Trail. Located near the earlier failed Fort Mann, Atkinson was about midpoint on the trail, just west of present-day Dodge City. The fort's location may have worked strategically, but the shortage of natural resources proved difficult. Many of the soldiers initially called it Fort Sod, because the only building materials available were soil and grass. Troops traveled up to 35 miles for firewood. They could find no stone within 10 miles, and the grass was insufficient to feed the livestock. Soldiers protected commerce on the Santa Fe Trail and managed relations with the American Indians, including fulfilling the terms of treaties. As part of agreements, tribes were promised payments of annuities or gifts in exchange for allowing peaceful travel through their lands. The Comanche, Kiowa, Plains Apache, and other Plains tribes found the fort's presence disruptive. It destroyed natural resources and drove off the buffalo along with smaller animals, interrupting the tribe's hunting. Annuities paid to the Plains Indians brought their own conflicts. Hungry tribes waited and watched the fort for their shipments to arrive, which were often months late in coming. As tribal frustrations grew, the ever-present wagon loads of merchandise rolling through their land became increasingly tempting targets. Captain Robert Chilton, commander of Fort Atkinson, protested when guns and ammunition were sent as payment to the tribes, fearing the guns would be used against his own men. Eventually, these challenges became too great, and the distant fort was abandoned.
Fort Lerner.
Located a few miles
Learning.
southwest of the present-day city of Great Bend, U.S. troops originally established Fort Larned as the camp on Pawnee Fork in 1859. The confluence of Pawnee Creek in the Arkansas River was a notorious gathering site for Plains Indians, making it a strategic location protecting commerce on the Santa Fe Trail. A year later, the site was renamed Fort Larned, and it became a central location to distribute annuities to American Indian tribes. According to treaty, tribes were to be paid with money or goods on a regular basis for the taking of their lands. Clashes between white settlers and tribes like the Cheyenne and Kiowa occurred during and after the Civil War. Known as the Plains Indian Wars, these conflicts often involved white settlers and hunters who encroached on tribal lands and aggressively depleted the buffalo, a staple of the Plains Indians' way of life. General Winfield Hancock, headquartered at Fort Leavenworth, led a major expedition to Fort Larned in the spring of 1867. Inexperienced, suspicious, and frustrated with tribal relations, Hancock chose a path of intimidation and destruction instead of negotiation and peace. Hancock led his men, including George Armstrong Custer, to a Cheyenne and Lakota village west of Fort Larned. There, they were met by Cheyenne warriors intent on protecting their home. While the U.S. Indian agent secured an agreement to avoid engagement, Hancock's troops continued to approach the Cheyenne village. Many of the women, children, and elderly had already fled, possibly spurred by memories of the massacre at Sand Creek, just 3 years prior, where the 3rd Colorado Cavalry slaughtered 230 peaceful Cheyenne and Arapaho. When Hancock learned the families had left the village, he became furious, considering their retreat an act of war. He demanded that the Cheyenne warriors retrieve their families. Custer and the 7th U.S. Cavalry failed to locate the residents of the village, and after several days, Hancock ordered the Cheyenne village burned and all their possessions confiscated. Rather than bringing peace to the plains with a show of force, Hancock provoked a full-scale war where none had previously existed.
The road to Santa Fe, west of Council Grove, crossed through the heart of Arapaho, Cheyenne, Comanche, and Kiowa hunting grounds. Walnut Creek Crossing, near the Big Bend in the Arkansas River, served as an important gathering and camping spot, offering water, timber, and grasses. Colonel Henry Inman of the U.S. Army wrote, Fort Zara was always a favorite place of ambush by the Indians, and many a conflict occurred between traders, trappers, troops, and the Indians, and also between the several tribes, particularly the Pawnee and the Cheyenne. Tensions with tribes along the Santa Fe Trail peaked in the early 1860s, with conflicts instigated by all sides. Major J. Hayden, commander of Fort Larned, asked for a patrol of mounted soldiers to help control the situation. Wagon trains were ordered to wait to form larger caravans before proceeding. Day after day, tribes saw lines of supply wagons pass through their lands. The Daily Conservative in Leavenworth published the wagon master's pleas. We are, and have been for 2 days, completely surrounded. The Indians attempted to run off our stock and to kill our men as they go for water. We are suffering extremely, and if we do not receive assistance shortly, we shall have to give up our trains. The Army established Fort Zara to keep the peace in 1864. Fort Zara's troops protected trading ranches nearby and escorted wagon trains on the Santa Fe Trail during the Plains Wars. Relocated to the north and east in 1867, the fort closed 2 years later after treaty negotiations removed the Plains tribes to reservations.
Fort Dodge.
was established just before the end of the Civil War, near the junction of the wet and dry routes on the Santa Fe Trail. The fort's primary mission was to protect commercial trade, along with railroad construction and settlers, as wagon trains often camped nearby. However, like most forts, it also served another mission: to control American Indians. The growing number of settlers passing through the state brought increased tensions with tribes that frequently crossed the Arkansas River close by. In 1867, the U.S. Congress legislated a peace commission to resolve conflicts on the plains. This followed similar treaty negotiations from 1865. The treaty site near Medicine Lodge, Kansas, drew more than 5,000 Cheyenne, Arapaho, Comanche, Kiowa, and Kiowa Apache. The tribes agreed to relinquish their claims on lands between the Platte and Arkansas rivers, and to withdraw to reservations in present-day Oklahoma. In the meantime, the U.S. government agreed that no white settlements were allowed between the Arkansas River and the southern boundary of Kansas for a period of 3 years. The tribes could hunt south of the Arkansas River so long as significant buffalo ranged there. Although both sides agreed that all hostilities would end immediately, not all members of the tribes agreed. The U.S. Senate did not approve the treaties immediately, delaying the implementation for almost 10 months. The Medicine Lodge Treaty also promised annuities, schools, hospitals, and blacksmiths, along with tools and seeds for farming. Fort Dodge was among the points distributing food and annuities to thousands of American Indians covered by the treaties. Congress was slow to allocate funds, and the hungry tribes assumed that the U.S. government did not intend to keep their promises. As distrust continued, the winter campaign of 1868 to 1869 escalated to defeat the tribes. Fort Dodge supplied the military troops during this deadly end to the Plains Wars.
Council Lodge got its name from a council that was held in Council Grove. That was held in the Grove. This is how they would shoe the oxen. They'd have to put them in a frame like that, suspended, because they can't stand on 3 legs. They can only stand on 4.
Sign in before you leave.
Pardon?
I said sign the register
Okay.
before you leave.
Okay, she'll do that.
Everything is free on there except the donation box on that table.
And Mark told me about the archaeologist up there.
We said let Gary tell you more about it.
Uh-huh.
Here's how deep the water was in 51 in this building.
Here's a picture of the flood there.
Yeah, that's what
Wow.
I'm talking
Look at
about.
that.
The water was clear back to the base of the hill here.
That is amazing.
And that's the reason that the reservoir up here was built.
Tire shrinker. Okay, these are the shoes. Look at
Yes,
the
different-
oxen.
Different animals that they use on the wagon trains.
Fall winter hunt being the most important because the air on
This is the blacksmith's tools.
longest in that period. But what happens? There
We had some of those out on the farm.
I'm following the Santa Fe Trail, Gary.
Yeah. And that's part of the council oak tree there, the white stickers, when something happened to the tree.
That was a big tree.
It was over 300 years old.
How much?
300?
300. That is amazing. What a nice house. Then when they renovated it, they added these features like this little back porch here, enclosed porch. And here's your tornado shelter. It was made from stone quarried just a few blocks from here. It's a beautiful house. Let's go around to the front. You got those old-timey chairs on the front porch. Big sycamore tree here. Mission. Council Grove, Kansas, right on the Santa Fe Trail.